This is why your 3D is vomiting on you. And this ties into cognitive dissonance and toxic positivity. Here's the thing. In the process of manifesting, you have already been programmed by yourself with your former self-talk of limiting beliefs. And now you're in the process of changing that and embodying a new identity with new beliefs, new thoughts, new expectations, new assumptions, new actions. And because when you're beginning to embody a new identity, it actually conflicts the old programming that has been there for years, potentially decades by you, your brain will begin to move into what is called cognitive dissonance. Now, that's just a fancy word of saying you have a conflicting belief system that goes against the thing that you're now telling yourself. And because you have this conflicting belief system, what begins to happen is the brain begins to self-sabotage a bit. It begins to make you a magnet to the opposite type of results to be able to get you to stand down and stick with the normal programming. Now, why is that? Your brain's not trying to be a jerk. But the problem is you have not spent enough time regulating your nervous system and making your new identity normal, natural, and easy to embody. It's kind of almost like your inner child screaming out for help, saying, "What do you mean? You told me we weren't abundant. Now you're telling me we are? You told me 30K months weren't possible. You told me 100K months weren't possible. Now you're telling me that we're a 100K month magnet? What? Excuse me? Pardon me? You told me that there's no good men left. Now you're telling me that I'm a dream man magnet? Excuse me? Pardon me?" And so your inner child inside is almost like flailing, like how you would throw a kid in the deep end of the pool that doesn't know how to swim and it's just flailing. It's just like, no, get me out of here. And so what happens is it begins to argue against this new identity. Now you start to get intrusive thoughts. Remember that time that Jason left? Remember that time that Spencer cheated on you? Remember that time that client said yes and then they dropped out? All to try to keep you in the same familiar identity, the same familiar pattern. Your brain doesn't create what you want it to create. It regurgitates what has been safe and familiar to it, regardless if that's what you want it to do or not. And this is also where toxic positivity kind of comes in, right? In that whole movement. It's not actually toxic to think positive, but a lot of people are like, that's not how it works, and it actually caused me more harm than good. Well, that's because your brain moved into cognitive dissonance. The vision and the identity that you moved into was too positive based on your baseline of beliefs. You jumped basically too high too fast. And that's what created a mountain of resistance. And that's why nervous system regulation is so important. When you begin to understand how to reprogram the mind, body, and nervous system to get fully on board with your desire, that is exactly when you have your desire. When you know how to step into the identity and stay there without actually needing your reality to shift, that's when it shifts. There is no how-to tutorial for how to heal your trauma and reprogram these things because your experiences are different than mine and you're going to need different things than me. But if you want to do this work with me and get everything you want, the link's in my bio.